Housing affordability was big in the last election. People were demanding concrete actions to restore a system where everyone has a fair shot at homeownership. Doug Ford has been re-elected as Ontario's premier, and to be blunt, I think that his platform is weak. Although I do have my political beliefs, this is not about political allegiances, but rather an overview of what I consider to be all smokes and mirrors. Let's talk politics. For those of you who are new on my channel, I post video weekly about all things Ottawa, not just politics, so hit the like button and subscribe. Okay, so to be fair, I don't think that any party had an actual well-rounded platform to tackle the housing crisis that we're facing now. But since my buddy Doug won with a crushing majority of 83 seats out of 124, I will go over his housing platform and what's sadly missing from it. That's a new angle. Listen, my desk is on wheel, everything's on wheel, so I'll try to move you around, guys, so you don't get too bored. So point number one of their platform is incentivize municipalities to make timelier development and rezoning applications. To put it simply, there's a lot of paperwork and admin to go through when you want to build something in Ontario. They actually want to make change in the Planning Act and City of Toronto Act to force the municipalities to refund the application fees if a decision is not made in a certain time window. Listen, I can stand behind this. We want more properties. We need to act faster. Makes sense. Point number two, to further increase building speed, they want to allow 12-story mass timber buildings, currently maxed out at 6-story, streamline multi-unit building approvals, and possibly allow low-rise multi-unit housing with a single means of egress. Again, this seems reasonable, allowing for a little bit more density. Some Western provinces like Alberta and BC already allow for this, so it's good. Good point. Point number three, reducing the Ontario Land Tribunal and Landlord-Tenant Board backlogs. A $19 million investment would be used to increase staffing and technology resources. I mean, listen, it's managed by the government, so I have no doubt that it's underfunded and way behind in technology. And also, landlord and tenants shouldn't have to wait months and months to have their issue addressed. So again, I'm with this one. Point number four, increase data sharing. That is sharing projected population data with municipalities so they can better meet community needs with a focus on upcycling underutilized government-owned land. I don't even know why we're not already doing this. I mean, sounds like a no-brainer to me. You already have the information, so share it. You have it, just share it. Point number five, expanding the non-resident speculation tax, upping the tax to 20% and applying it province-wise. There's actually something like this already in place in Toronto, but it's 15%. We're on the right track. Like I said in my last video, I would actually enforce a nationwide ban on foreign buyers, and that is until we have enough supply for ourselves. Those assets should belong and enrich Canadians. And listen, there's already that tax, like I said, 15% in Toronto, and the city is exploding. So I don't think that 20% is gonna be, a major deterrent for those companies, but they're trying, so I'm gonna give it to them. And last point, point number six, increase fines on unethical behaviors from developers and builders. Also something that it should be common sense, right? I know builders that will deliver a mediocre product and wait for you to complain to come pay you up and to shut up, right? So this is poor business practices at best and completely unethical at worst. But the big one that everyone is talking about is the promise to build 1.5 million new units in the next decade. And listen, I'm not saying that building more is not part of the solution. We do need more properties, even if it's only to offset the growing population. What I'm saying is that it's easy to throw numbers out to look good, but to actually deliver on those promises is another thing. Now, before I tear this last promise apart, what do you think about Mr. Ford's platform so far? Let's put in a comment below. When talking about building this incredible amount of properties, we face two major issues. First one is the logistical hurdle of building that many units and the supporting infrastructures. With the housing costs rising in big cities, people already left for smaller communities. Seeing their population bulge, those small communities are facing major expense to adjust the sewage and water system. The problem is they can't afford it. So it's already creating a major roadblock to that promise. Sorry, I butchered your name. Bob Chickadens, president of the Ontario Home Builders Association, said, if you can't flush the toilet, you can't build a house. and I couldn't said it better. Beautiful. Thank you, Bob. Second challenge that you're facing is the dwindling workforce. Over the next decade, more than 100,000 construction workers are set to retire. And that's not new, right? Trade industries have suffered from a shortage of workers since long before the pandemic. But with the new generation turning their nose up at blue-collar work, with the stigma around it and the aging workforce, it's a real problem. In December, there were more than 338,000 vacancies in the province in the construction industry, and I would argue that you can see similar numbers across Canada. And in the same line of thought, all those short-term strikes that we're seeing in the construction industries are not helping anyone. And listen, I have no take on this, but it does slow down the process. To summarize, Ford's flagship promise is already facing issues that haven't been addressed by any parties for that matter. My personal issue with this platform, I would have loved to see two things addressed: exclusionary zoning and rent control. And for those who don't know what exclusionary zoning is, I will read you the definition right now. Exclusionary land use and zoning policies constrain land use, artificially inflate prices, perpetuate historical patterns of segregation, keep workers in lower productivity regions, and limit economic growth. Basically, exclusionary zoning keeps affordable housing out of desirable areas. I'll give you an example. In a lot of neighborhoods in Ontario, it is illegal to tear down your house to build a duplex, triplex, or even fourplex. But it is relatively easy to tear down a wartime bungalow and build a 3-story massive home for one wealthy family. This makes zero sense. Although sometimes it is because the infrastructures in place cannot accommodate more people in the area, most time it's just gatekeeping. If this issue was seriously addressed, paired with a streamlined application process, we would see much more properties in desirable areas. Areas where the transit, the expensive LRT, and all the infrastructures that we pay for would be put to good use. And listen, you don't have to take my word for it, right? I'm just a guy, but President Joe Biden announced that the US government would be putting resources forward to tackle this issue. The President of the United States, right? So this is a big missed opportunity by Ford administration. Rent control is also something I would have loved to see in the PC platform. Time out. Rent control as it is now, everything that was built before 2018 is subject to rent control, and the rate is given by the government every year. Everything that was built after 2018 is not subject to rent control, so your landlord can increase your rent by $5,000 a month if you so desire. That's where we stand with rent control. When rent control was removed in 2018 by Ford, by the way, it was to incentivize builders to build more units, and it was a good thing back then. What it actually did though is incentivize landlords to kick out tenants and the creation of luxury rental, to a point where you have to shell out $2,500 for a very modest, townhouse with 3 bedrooms, 40 minutes away from Ottawa. But the issue has become much more depressing than this. We have a whole generation that can barely afford rent, and if they do, they sacrifice the opportunity to put money aside to become owner themselves at some point. So that's why we're seeing a lot more people in their 20s and 30s stays with mom and dad, because it just makes financial sense. Do I think it's fair? Not really. Do I think that mortgage application process should be revised? That if you pay $2,400 in rent for 3 years, we can't acknowledge that you have the capacities to pay for a mortgage, but that's not the way it is. So, food for thought. When I said that Doug's platform was all smokes and mirrors, that's what I meant, right? A few common sense initiatives, a few goody promises, and a flagship promise that's riddled with problems. All of this while voluntarily ignoring two major issues that would impact me and you the most. I will give them some credit. Some measures in there make sense, it's good, but it's all very minor compared to what should actually be tackled. So this whole platform for me seems like a big missed opportunity. That being said, I do hope that those measures actually help bring back the market and actually succeed in tackling this huge challenge that is ahead of us. And when we talk about real estate, there's a lot to cover, but a good place to start is inflation and interest rate. And boy, are you in luck, because that's exactly what we talk about in this video. You can also take a look at what I think investors are doing to the market. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.